Hey guys, so what's it mean to be highly sensitive? I think there's a lot of misconceptions over what that term really means, and a lot of people have put their own kind of connotation to it. Allow me to explain my version of what being highly sensitive means and see if it makes sense to you. Let's cut to that.
Be manly and the legends of humanity. Welcome to the fellowship of honorable men and women role models for boys and men, because you have the power to be a man in all its glory.
Okay, high sensing, high sensitivity. Two different terms, right? High sensitivity is people's impression of an emotional reaction to things, which, we can put any type of definition to any combination of words that we wish these days. It doesn't really seem to matter. But I want to talk about high sensing, right? So what is high sensing? We've heard this term common senses before, and the common senses that we have, most of us have, not everybody, is the ability to see, the ability to hear, the ability to taste, the ability to smell, and the ability to feel. Now, notice I said feel and not touch, right? Often we relate the senses to touch, and I wanted to redefine that to feel, because there's a big difference there. So when we combine those five senses into a commonality, if you will, then the outcome of that is the collective data that they pick up, the sights, the smells, the sounds, and the feelings that enter our body through our 7 trillion nerves that are literally laced throughout our entire body. Forms a signal or a message of sorts. And that message has to go through a process called experiential education. What did we experience in the past? And how does that message that we're receiving now relate to that experience that we've had in the past? And then from there, it creates an emotional response. So there's another entity there. It's an emotional response or emotional reaction. Most people will have a reaction, not a response. And so the reality is that our senses and what they pick up are much more different than our emotional side of us. So we're going to put the emotional side of us to the side right now and just focus on the sensing part. Now, I think we can all agree, I hope we all can agree, that what I see and what I hear and what I smell and what I taste and what I feel is going to be different than you. Even though I have eyes, ears, a nose, a mouth, and feeling. The combination of those is what we're working with, is that the data that these things are picking up are the main differences between us and how we interpret them. And again, going back to the experiential education, somebody that has very little experience in life will not be able to pick up on a lot of the senses or the messages that these senses are giving us as much as somebody that has, let's say, very traumatic experiences in life. And so we need to really understand that high sensing is not emotional being. High sensing is the collection of data from our environment, a radar, I call it. So we're constantly sending out this radar with our senses that's picking up signals around us. Number one, primarily to protect us, save us from harm. And number two is to guide us, to help us navigate this crazy world that we live in. Our emotional side of us is how we respond to those senses that are picking us up. Now, high sensing people, highly sensitive people, their nerves within their body, the feeling part of them, is elevated. So too can their sense of smell, their sense of sight, their sense of hearing, and their sense of taste. Now, they can also be desensitized, especially taste and smell and hearing and sight, to a large degree because of, chemicals and food digestion and all sorts of loud musics and everything else. We can desensitize ourselves as well. But the feeling is the one that's most predominant here, how we feel about something. And I often describe that as you're in a country and they speak a foreign language and there's somebody standing in front of you trying to tell you something in that foreign language, and you don't quite understand what they're trying to say. You know that they're trying to say something important, but you can't quite figure it out what they're saying. Do you run? Do you hide? Do you confront? What do you do with this signal that's coming to you with this person trying to communicate to you in this foreign language? Our goal as highly sensitive people is to try to develop that understanding of that language, try to improve upon it, try to learn what it's trying to tell us. Are we always going to be right? No, we're not always going to be right. Oftentimes we're wrong because we just don't understand what it's trying to communicate to us. And so our natural responses, based on our experiential education, might be to defend ourselves when really we need to open the doors to understanding more about it. And so the important message here is that try to separate your emotional being from your high sensitivity and focus now on your high sensitivity. If you can learn more about that, more that your senses are highly tuned to pick up environmental stimuluses, then we can start working better at the emotional reactions or responses, ideally, to those highly sensitive inputs. I hope that helps a little bit. Cheers, everybody.
Before you go, you're invited to continue the Be Manly and the Legends of Humanity journey. Subscribe to our YouTube and become a patron, where you can become a courageous crusader, a wise warrior, a daring dynamo, and even an ascending avenger. Here you'll find all the tools to become a man in all its glory. We're honored to walk side by side with you on this extraordinary adventure. Together, we're unleashing the full power of manhood, creating a better world for everyone.